What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazik, aka Franchise Play, and I'm here with the NBA Live 18 video review. Now, as usual, I wrote this up for Forbes already, so if you'd rather read it, you can check out the link in the description. But here we go. I kind of see NBA Live 18 being a lot like Derrick Rose. And if anybody knows me, they know how big of a fan I am of Derrick Rose. So we're already starting off interesting. But, in 2011, Rose became the youngest MVP in NBA history. He led the Chicago Bulls to the Eastern Conference Finals, and it appeared as though the team would be a perennial championship contender for years, with the then 22-year-old face of the franchise heading into his prime. And as most of us know, injuries would take a toll on Rose in the following season. He tore his ACL in the playoffs and has had a number of knee injuries since. He's now headed into his 9th season in the NBA, and his first with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Rose had to settle for a one-year, $2.1 million contract, despite averaging 18 points a game for the New York Knicks last season in 64 games. Rose is no longer the toast of the NBA. In fact, he's toast in the minds of many. No NBA general manager offered him a multi-year, multi-million dollar deal. He didn't even make Sports Illustrated's top 100 player list this month. Are the glory days over for Rose? Or is he primed for a resurgence, landing alongside LeBron James with the Cleveland Cavaliers? EA Sports' NBA Live franchise might be in a similar situation. At one time, the franchise was the perennial NBA simulation video game. But ever since 2010, around the same time Rose ascended to prominence, the series has fallen on some hard times. It has been surpassed in popularity and quality by the NBA 2K series, and a virtual hoops community that once revered it now uses it as a punchline for jokes about inadequate sports video game development. However, like Rose, NBA Live is attempting to make a comeback, and there are some pieces in place for that resurgence. I apologize for that rather long introduction to this review, but that analogy needed to get out of my mind and into the free world. Now here's a look at the good, the bad, and the bottom line of NBA Live 18. Let's start off with the good. NBA Live has improved its gameplay since it last released in 2015. At the core of that improvement is its ball handler versus defender dynamic. It's pretty simple, yet it's fun to control. Just like in real basketball, the key to effectively guarding an offensive player is staying in front of him or her. Live drives this point home in its gameplay, and it even rewards you along the way for successful efforts. When you cut a ball handler off, you'll see a green arrow, meaning you successfully impeded the dribbler's progress. The better and quicker the ball handler, the tougher the task. Simply guarding an opponent or trying to beat someone off the dribble is fun in Live 18. Not all of the animations in NBA Live 18 are done well, but many of the layups are pretty beautiful to watch. From some sweet baseline reverses to scoops and contact layups, Live animates well with most below-the-rim finishes. Those below-the-rim animations are on full display in WNBA gameplay. Now, I'll delve into the things I like or I don't like about this aspect of the game later, but from a pure gameplay standpoint, the ladies' action is actually better than the men's in Live. Yes, I said that, you heard that correctly. Overall, the animations are much smoother in WNBA gameplay. Perhaps it's because the WNBA players are a bit smaller in stature in most cases, and those games have less dunking. In any case, the WNBA games flow much better, and there aren't nearly as many rigid sequences and clumsy frames. Anyone who has Live 18, I highly recommend you playing a game with the WNBA teams. You'll likely see what I mean within the first 5 minutes. EA has created a smart and promising single-player experience with the One. The concept challenges you to create a player that you'll hopefully guide to stardom in the NBA and legendary status on various street ball courts across the country. You can use EA's face scanning application to put yourself in the game, and the technology produces pretty accurate results, although correct skin color can still be a challenge. Once your player is created, you can play games at the Drew, Dyckman, Rucker Park, and other venues. You'll also join the NBA and chase championships and individual accolades on that stage. The experience is augmented by a sweet faux social media element and a mock broadcast of ESPN's First Take with Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman. The mode has its similarities to NBA 2K's My Career, which isn't a bad thing, as those kinds of single-player modes have become pretty much the most popular ways to play basketball video games these days. The one encourages gamers to grind to upgrade their character, and that may appeal to fans who don't like spending real cash to extend their virtual experience. The stat overlays are constant, helpful, and they should be emulated by NBA 2K. I'm talking about in the midst of an actual game. After every basket, you can see how many points the scoring player has, and there are even some references to other statistics. Live seems to be the only sports video game on the market that delivers a solid and meaningful halftime show. It hasn't changed much since NBA Live 16, but it's layered and the least skippable intermission available in the genre. Now let's talk about what we don't like, or what I don't like. The animation you get when you're dribbling while pressing turbo is very cartoonish. It looks as if the player is moving too fast for the ball, or as if someone pressed a low-speed fast-forward button on some sort of video player. That's just one of the wonky animations. Many others occur when players jump straight up in the air to take a jump shot or to contest a shot on defense. This is a legacy issue for Live, as the players still feel bound by some exaggerated sense of gravity. Quite honestly, if this were a last-generation game, I wouldn't be nitpicking at this aspect of the title. However, every other sports game, including NBA 2K, handles the essential hoops elements of running and jumping better than Live. Thus, it is something we cannot ignore. The player models look fine as long as they're standing still. The moment they begin to move, you see their awkward builds. Players have animal-like gapes and they simply don't move naturally while running or walking. On this generation of consoles, it is hard to dismiss this type of issue. EA's development team could also do a better job having the players emote. There are sequences in gameplay where you'll see a player scream or frown, but that expression quickly changes into some lifeless, almost sleepy cyborg look, and it really messes with the immersion. During those aforementioned speed bursts and dribble sequences, the ball doesn't bounce naturally. It looks as if it's on some sort of a string as it comes back to the player's hands. There are also some weird looking caroms off the rim on missed shots. The ball sometimes bounds off the rim as if it's weighted rather than an equally balanced sphere. When you group the animation issues with the body types and periodically dead-looking faces, Live 18 isn't one of those sports titles that'll make you mistake it for a real game at a glance. I also found contested layup accuracy is a little over the top on the default settings. When you drive to the basket and attempt a shot with a defender pressed against you, the success rate is a little higher than it should be. This is something that could be tweaked with an early update. Block shots, I think, are a little out of control. Just giving an example. Hassan Whiteside is one of the NBA's premier shot blockers, but there is no way he should be blocking 3 Blake Griffin dunks in a row. Blake Superior had the ball close to the basket in an instance that I'm referring to now, as he tried to finish with authority locked in on Whiteside. The first attempt was blocked, and it was pretty cool to see. But Griffin came back with 2 more attempts, only to see the third swatted out to half court. This is from a dunk. This wasn't the only instance of superhuman shot blocking that I saw. Others rejected shots that they would not be able to in real life. When we were playing the Live 18 demo, I had my 7-foot creative player shot blocked by Isaiah Thomas. Yeah, that shouldn't happen. The biggest issues with Live's AI are on the offensive end. There are some issues with AI on defense, but I think the bigger ones are on offense. Ball handlers don't recognize cutters as they're often very late passing the ball to wide open teammates in the lane. Because of this, it makes it pretty easy to help defend with big men because you're not made to pay the price. It's not a complete exploit, but it works enough to make it unrealistic. Now that commentary, I think EA Sports still has some ways to go here, because they still have Mike Breen and Jeff Van Gundy offering their great voices for Hoops commentary. But like most sports games, Live 18 has almost no conversational value. It's just a ton of lines and one-liners, and there's no real storytelling from the commentators like there is in NBA 2K or in Madden or even in FIFA. Those 3 games have raised the bar in the area of commentary, and Live is just one of the sports titles that need to upgrade in this area. The NBA Live 18 franchise mode is poor, if I'm just putting it plain and simple. In fact, It's probably the worst mode in the whole game. That's a major issue for sports gamers who still consider franchise mode to be the lifeblood of a sports title. I consider franchise mode to be a lifeblood of a sports title. You can only play for one team. Also, the calendar is split into weeks, which makes navigating it and completing personnel moves cumbersome. There are no real references from the commentary during franchise mode games that differentiate it from other modes. The franchise mode does offer a play the moments feature that is similar to Madden, only Live 18's version is a cheap, poorly conceived iteration. It's essentially a super sim that gives you the option to jump in the event that the other team is making a run or the game is close. It would have been so much better if it worked like MLB The Show's Critical Situations. Sony's version of the concept gives fans a chance to control specific segments of the game that are organically created based on the individual player, team, game, season, or career events. Live's Moments feature does not offer that much substance at all. EA Sports usually goes all out with their Ultimate Team modes. The one exception has been the terribly rendered EA Sports UFC 2 Ultimate Team. Unfortunately, EA UFC 2 has some company on this front. Live Ultimate Team is boring, pretty barren when compared to the challenges and content you receive with NHL, Madden, and FIFA. The Wnba Experience I like. As much as I like that WNBA gameplay, the overall experience though isn't really very satisfying. There's no season mode or any other feature available with the WNBA players besides Play Now. That does nothing to build on such a groundbreaking inclusion. Also, there are a ton of unscanned WNBA players. We're not talking about just reserves. I'm talking about superstars like Candace Parker, Skylar Diggins-Smith, all have generic faces. Also, the commentary team makes almost no references to the players by name. It makes it all feel pretty pointless. Great sports games offer users an opportunity to build upon the sports world the game provides with its licensed players and teams. NBA Live 18 offers no real elements of customization beyond your created player in the one. You can't edit existing players and teams, and you can't create your own. With games like NBA 2K, MLB The Show, Pro Evolution Soccer, and even the usually tight franchises like Madden and FIFA offering fans some level of customization, Live's lack of options in this area of the game is a major setback. Let's go bottom line. NBA Live 18 has a lower price point, at least for people who pre-ordered, than most major sports video games. And that's a good thing because it simply doesn't offer all of the features that other sports titles do. There are some promising base features in place from a gameplay and conceptual and presentation standpoint, but it's not where it needs to be. Through all of the injuries, Rose has remained my favorite player. Now, I'm born and raised in Chicago, and Rose grew up 15 minutes from me. I watched him play at Simeon High School, Memphis, and in the NBA. So it's important that you know that my connection to Rose in order to understand that the title of this review or the whole setup of this review isn't an insult to him or NBA Live. But I made this connection because perhaps both Rose and NBA Live can use this upcoming season as the jump-off point to a return to a past glory. Maybe they can, maybe they won't. My score for NBA Live 18 is a 6.7. I appreciate you watching as always. God bless and peace.